Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is the Sabbath day. It is seventh day of the week, and I am excited, so excited, so excited. I know you can't really tell, I had a little bit of a long night with my 4-year-old, but I am still excited to be with you guys today to uh, know that I can go on YouTube and Facebook at the exact same time. Very excited about that. I do take a little more time today. Work. So if you have any questions or any comments, feel free to hit them in the chat. I would love to answer them. On my note or whatever you call it on Facebook. It's gonna be a little delayed. Good morning, Facebook. It is the Sabbath, and I put my glasses. So yes, this weather changing all the time. 4-year-old, I'll do anything for her. That means getting up 4 or 5 times to blow her nose. I sure will. But what I want to talk about uh, is some messages that I received from people who don't understand what the Sabbath is. So when it was first introduced in Genesis, let's go back to Genesis. That's how we get our definitions. Origination of things. Said all right. Genesis chapter 2. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Yes. Got these. Something's weird going on with the sound. I know some of my updates were dinging, so I don't know if that's part of it. We're good? Okay. Awesome. So, in Genesis chapter 2, thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, God ended his work, which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. And God blessed, he spoke good of the seventh day. He set it apart as his own and hallowed it, because on it God rested from all his work which he had created and done. That's the definition. So I'm gonna fast forward. It's a few more, but I'm gonna fast forward to a verse that was given to me to explain to someone was proving that because of this verse, what Genesis said is not true or done away with or replaced. I believe it's Matthew chapter 11. Matthew chapter 11. And they read Jesus talking. And he said, take my yoke upon you. He said, learn of me, for I am gentle, meek, and humble, lowly in heart, and you will find rest, relief, ease, refreshment, and recreation, and blessed quiet for your souls. Is how Amplified Classic Edition defines rest. Verse 30, for my yoke is wholesome, useful, good, not harsh, hard, sharp, or pressing, but comfortable, gracious, and pleasant. And my burden is light and easy to be borne. So the young man said to me, he said, because of that verse of scripture, every day is the Sabbath. So I'm explaining to him that even in Matthew chapter 11, it's talking about doing something. The origination of the verse of rest and Sabbath was from work. The Most High, Jesus, in Matthew chapter 11, is talking about for our souls, where our mind, our will, our emotions, our intellect, our imagination lives. Not how we make money. They're two different things. Our souls, and as we saw, God was creating, he was making, and he rested from creation, from fashioning the world, fashioning people. He was done. Now that might even scare us when we think about the woman. I'm not about to go there right now, but we just gonna leave it at he was done creating because he said he was done creating. So that doesn't mean every single day is a Sabbath, because if it is, and my job is to sell insurance and I don't work, how can I have resources to give to people? How can I have resources to pay my rent and cars and things of this nature? Jesus was talking about my soul. I had some disturbing things happen this week, and all because of a lack of communication. And even pierces my heart to even bring it up, but just that was my soul. I still had to go to work. I still had to make money. So let's look at it when it was brought up again. Let's look up how the Sabbath was defined by the scriptures when it was brought up again. We have Genesis and we have Exodus, I believe. Might be the end of Genesis, so bear with me. When they got out of Egypt, and God is speaking, and he's letting them know that he wants to see if they're going to be obedient to what he was saying. And he literally used the word test. Now that even kind of messed me up a bit, but that's what it said. It said test. So let's find, I think it's, let's see, chapter 4. It might be 4. Yeah, Exodus 4. Please, this is the one time that I slow down. If you have any questions, please let me know what they are. Actually, no, because in Exodus 4, he's still dealing with Pharaoh. 1 second. Talking about the time where he gave food from heaven, and he was explaining to them to gather up their food for 6 days. So it's two things he was testing. He was testing to see if they were going to believe that he was going to bring them more food the next day, because he told them only get enough food for today. And some people, so like say on the second day of the week, on a Monday, they got the food and they're like, he might not bring us any food Wednesday. He might not bring us any food tomorrow. So let me grab extra. But he promised them, he said, just get enough for today, cook it, eat it, be good. But some people didn't believe him. And they tried to save some up for tomorrow. And when they woke up, it stank and it had worms. So that's in Exodus chapter 16. And it's like, why you just couldn't believe me? That's what the Most High was saying. Like, I told y'all every day, I'm going to give you food. Yeah, maggots, exactly, see? So Exodus 15, and I want to read the words that he said to them. He's always saying that he wants us to hearken to his words and his ways. I've been reading the Torah over and over again, and then when I get to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, I forget what they call them right now, but when I get to them, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's right there. Like, he keep it so simple. Do what I say. Do what I say. So we were even looking at Matthew. Matthew was not necessarily an instruction, but an invitation to rest our minds from stress of life. But nonetheless, I'm going to read this second one. Exodus chapter 15, he says, saying, if you would diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord your God, and will do what is right in his sight, and will listen and obey his commandments and keep all his statutes, he's promising that he would put none of the diseases upon you which he brought on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you. That's what he said. So then we go to, I wanted to read the part where he said he was going to test them. It might be in 16. So Exodus 16, and so they're murmuring and complaining. Rather than just saying, Most High, can you bring me some food? So they're like, you going to starve us? And so the Lord said, listen, I'm going to give you meat and I'm going to give you bread. In verse 12. And then he said, verse 16, please excuse me. This is what the Lord has commanded. Let every man gather of it as much as he will need, an omer for each person, according to the number of your persons. Take it for every man in his tent. The people did so and gathered some more or less. When they measured it, an omer, he who gathered much had nothing over, and he who gathered little had no lack, but gathered according to his need. And Moses said, let none of it be left until morning. But they did not listen to Moses. They did not listen to Moses. Some of them left it until morning, and the bread got worms and became foul and stank, and he was angry with them. And then they gathered it every morning as much as they needed, for when the sun became hot, it melted. Verse 22, and on the sixth day they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for each person, and all the leaders of the congregation came and told Moses. And he said to them, the Lord said tomorrow. So verse 22 said the 6th day. Verse 23 says, the Lord said tomorrow is a solemn rest, a holy Sabbath to the Lord. Bake and boil what you will bake and boil today, and all that remains over put aside and keep it until morning. They laid it aside till morning, and Moses told them, as Moses told them, and it did not foul, neither was it wormy. Moses said, eat that today, for today is the Sabbath unto the Lord, and you shall find none in the field. 6 days you shall gather it, but on the 7th day, the Sabbath, there shall be none. And on the 7th day, when the people went out to gather, they didn't find any. So it's 2 parts. They tried to keep some, and then they didn't believe them that it wasn't going to be any the next day. I'm of the opinion that when the Most High say what he gonna say, he gonna do what he said. And so verse 28, the Lord said to Moses, how long do you people refuse to keep my commandments and my laws? See, the Lord has given you the Sabbath. He's given it to us. Therefore, he gives you on the sixth day the bread for 2 days. Let every man remain in his place, and let no man leave his place the seventh day. So the people rested on the seventh day. And the house of Israel called the bread manna, and it's just defining what they were calling it. So this is the second time. This is how he's explaining to them how, he said trusted in provision, but he gave double portion on the 6 days so that the Sabbath they didn't have to collect. Exactly. If we were buying out faith, we would probably be stronger. If we were blind out, the mind is tricky. That's why we must renew it every day. Exactly. Definitely. Say daily, take my yoke upon you. Say, daily seek my face, daily bread, which is the bread of life is the word. So yes, definitely, we definitely have to daily. So even with that comment, if every day I'm resting, how am I? If I'm resting in the definition of the way the Most High gave it from work, how am I being a citizen that try to do what I need to do? Exactly. Taste and see that I am good. That's what he says. That's what he says. Even with the woman at the well, he was explaining that he is the water, which is something that's so amazing. The water it washes us, it purifies us, it sanctifies us. And that is the word. That is the word. The word of the Most High has a lot of different definitions. It does a lot of different things for us, but nonetheless, it's very, very powerful. I'm still looking for that one verse because the reason why I'm looking for it is because he was introducing the Sabbath to them. As it went on, it changed because he continues to say that he is the Lord of the Sabbath, which is what Jesus ended up saying in the book of Matthew, that I'll quote most of it the same, but he says it in the Gospels, that's what I was looking for, none as well, because he's the Lord of it. The Lord is the person who gives the rules, who says how it's going to go. So the next example is that I go to is in Leviticus chapter 23, because that is when the Lord, the one who makes the rules, said, this is how I want the Sabbaths to be kept. He said, 6 days in verse 3 shall work be done, but the seventh day is a Sabbath of rest, a holy convocation or assembly by summons. They blow the shofar. Wish I had one down here. You shall do no work on that day. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. Work. So at this point, in Leviticus chapter 23, he's not talking about getting food from outside, because he's made it very plain in Exodus chapter 16. You're not going to find any food in the desert, in the wilderness. Now he's saying, I want you to have a holy convocation or assembly by summons when the trumpet is blown, come together, worship together, feast together, don't work. So they're huge, right? People used to say, if you keep the Sabbath, you can't drive or walk. These are thousands of people. When they got to the promised land, you had some in, like, if it was Detroit, if it was Michigan, you had some in Detroit, you had some in Canton, you had some in Waterford, you had some in Pontiac, you had some in Livonia. They hear the horn, they gotta travel to come together. So bump all of that. You can't travel keeping the Sabbath. No, he said assemble. That's an action. You got to come together wherever you are, come together, come to the temple, come to the place where we're doing our Sabbath service together. People, I don't know who did it. I've heard it several times. I'm not about to say the persons who said it to me when I was a little girl coming up, but I'm so glad that I read the Bible for myself. A lot of people can say, oh, you saying this because of sweethearts. I'm a highly educated young lady. I love to read. I read this for myself and I took out my opinion. The words on my screen right now, you might even see the reflection in my glasses. They're black and white. You shall do no work on that day. Every morning I get up and I go to work. This morning I'm getting up and I'm going to feast with my people. I'm not punching no clock. I'm not making any money. Somebody might give me some money. It happens often. I might give somebody else some money. But I'm not working. It's plain. And my soul has rest every day if I keep my mind on him, which is the Psalms or one of the Proverbs. Keep your mind on me and I will keep you in perfect peace. Your soul is your mind. So in Matthew chapter 11, he wasn't talking about giving you rest from work. He was giving us rest in our minds. And if anybody know what spiritual warfare is or faith and being a person who walking with the Most High, yoked up with Jesus, we know the devil comes for our mind. Again, the first time he came on the scene, he went and challenged the thought of the woman because her name wasn't given at that time. He said, what do you know? This is my interpretation of it. I'm not taking or leaving nothing away. I like to be animated with this one. He questioning her. What do you know about what God said about the fruit? What do you know? Well, we can't eat it or touch it. That's not what he said. So the moment that she touched it and she didn't die, doubt entered her mind immediately. So we gotta know what we're talking about. Or the devil gonna immediately come and be like, nah, that ain't what he said. Right here, Genesis chapter 3. Because y'all know me, the messenger with a smile is a messenger. So I don't really use a lot of my words. I say what he says. I just wanted to do that. You know, that's funny to me because that's how it happened. Now the serpent was more cunning than any beast in the field which the Lord God had made. And he said to woman, has God indeed said you shall not eat of the tree of the garden? He's questioning what she knows. And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree was in the midst of the garden, God has said, you shall not eat, nor shall you touch it, lest you die. Not only that, we add to the Sabbath. We add to almost everything. Just like she just did. He never said, don't touch it. Keep it the way he said it. Verse 4, the serpent said to the woman, you shall not die. For God knows that the day that you eat of it, your eyes will be open and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. Did she forget that she was made in his image? In his likeness? Verse 6, so when the woman saw that the tree was good for food and that was pleasant to her eyes and the tree was desirable to make one wise, she took of the fruit and ate. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, and the pride of life are the three things that cause us to sin. My sister says the devil will try to twist what we know, just like they did with Jesus telling him, he shall give angels charge over thee. So jump. Yes, when he was in the wilderness for 40 days being tempted of the devil, he said, if you are the Son of God, jump. What aren't the angels supposed to come? We don't tempt God like that. Hey, save me. I'm about to, nah, that ain't how it works. That is why it's important for us to understand the word for ourselves. Yes. Yes, it is. And the messenger with a smile is sent by God. I say that very humbly. To look at the scriptures. This happens over and over again. The devil comes, he twists the truth, and he adds to it. Yes, Titus says, study to show yourself approved, a workman that need not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. So if anybody come to you and quote a scripture and add something extra to it, you know that's from the devil. I'm sorry. That's my, he said it. He did it right here. And he keeps doing it. And he keeps doing it. And he keeps doing it. If you can't tell, I'm very passionate about this. Because he's coming for one body, whole, one mind, one accord, no schisms. I tell people I worship on Sabbath and they're like, 7-day Adventist? No, I'm not a religious name. What does the Bible say? I am a keeper of the Bible, period. Nowhere does he's very specific. Nowhere does he specifically say, do not go to the temple on Saturday anymore. Go on Sunday. Nowhere. Just because Paul preached on Sunday one time, I'm going to switch up what he's been doing very strategically since the beginning, since Genesis with himself, and then he taught his people to follow after him. What happens in heaven is what he wants to happen on earth. That's why that prayer, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. He wants it to mirror as it is in heaven, so on earth. I didn't say it. It's not my book. I am not the author of it. I just read it. That's all I do. So, hope it helps because she ate the fruit. She misquoted the scripture. Let's stop misquoting scriptures like Eve. Let's do that. Let's do that, please. Even with commandments, they went and started writing their own commandments. Read the book of Kings. They stopped following the commandments of the Most High, which is part of what Jesus was talking about as well. Because if you continue to Matthew chapter 12, he's talking about how peaceful and how kind he is. You know, it is obvious from time to time again. Instead of just doing what the Most High says, we add to it. I'm gonna read it. I got time. Matthew chapter 12. At that particular time, Jesus went through the field of standing grain on the Sabbath. He's in the field. He's in the field. And the disciples was hungry and they began to pick off and they ate. So they thinking about when they were in the wilderness, getting the quail and the bread. And when the Pharisees saw it, they said to him, see there, your disciples are doing what is unlawful and not permitted on the Sabbath. Verse 3, and he said to them, have you not read what David, when he was hungry, and those who accompanied him, when he went into the house of God and ate the loaves of showbread, which is only supposed to be for the priests? You read that in Exodus. The showbread is for the priests, which is not lawful for him to eat because he was not a priest, he was a king. None, nor for the men who were with him, they were all warriors, but for the priests only. That's verse 4 of Matthew chapter 12. Verse 5, he says, or have you never read in the law that the Sabbath, the priests in the temple, they violate, so let me slow down. Or have you never read in the law that on the Sabbath, the priests in the temple violate the sanctity of the Sabbath by breaking it and yet are guiltless? Now I have to read what they did. That one I can't pull back to know exactly what they did. But he says, but I tell you something is greater and more exalted and more majestic than the temple is here. He's talking about himself. And if you had only known what that saying means, verse 6, if you only knew what that saying means, he's saying, I desire mercy. He's ready to help, spare, and to forgive rather than sacrifice. He's telling us even at that point, the killing of the lambs and all of that stuff, at that point, he's saying, I desire mercy rather than the sacrifice of lambs and rams and birds. You would not have condemned the guiltless. He said, if you would only understand, you would not have condemned the guiltless. And he made a very, very powerful statement here in verse 8. For the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath. So when you read in Exodus, he said the Lord, it's the same person right here. So he didn't condemn his disciples for picking the grains to eat. Then they even went further. They're like, so they go on, and behold, verse 10, a man was there with one withered hand, and he said to him, is it lawful or allowable to cure people on the Sabbath day? That they might accuse him. But he said unto them, what man is there among you that if he only has one sheep, and that sheep falls into a pit or a ditch on the Sabbath, that you will not take hold of it and lift it out? He said, how much better and of more value is a man than a sheep? So yes, it is lawful and allowable to do good on the Sabbath day. They're trying to figure out how are we supposed to do the Sabbath day. They're not trying to say we're not supposed to do it no more. They're having a discussion about what is lawful, what is unlawful. What can I do? What can't I do on the Sabbath? That's what this discussion is about. Can you do this? Or can't you do this? Is it allowable? Is it not? And I'm repeating myself because I don't want to mistakenly do what Eve did and add to the word. This is very, very serious because the feasts are some of them are a celebration of what has already been done, and the others are preparing us for what's going to happen. The Sabbath is a preparation for an event that has not taken place yet. The ultimate rest from work. So this conversation in Matthew chapter 12 is not should we keep doing the Sabbath, but how. That's why when they say, don't let anybody judge you on how you keep the Sabbath days and the new moons. Don't let them judge you. Don't let them do what they were trying to do to Jesus. They were judging him. They were trying to tell him, you're not doing it correctly. I got to go to that one. I have to go to that one. I'm trying to go wake my daughter up. In my mind, I'm like, okay. But I got to go to that one because that's another one people like to use. It's not rightfully divided. That scripture, I believe it's in Corinthians, but bear with me while I find it. If you find it before me, go right ahead and put it in the chat. I would appreciate it. There we go. Google is amazing. It's in Colossians chapter 2, verse 16. It says, therefore, do not let anyone judge you by what you eat or drink, or with regard to a religious festival, a new moon celebration, or a Sabbath day. That's the NIV version. So to judge someone is to tell them you're not doing it correctly. That's what judge means. Let's define it real quick. We got the internet at our disposal. This is what it means to study. You look up words. Judge is to form an opinion or a conclusion about. So if I'm not doing the Sabbath or the feast, or I'm not eating anything, you can't have an opinion about it. The verb judge means to form an opinion or conclusion about. You can't judge an object that doesn't move, something that's not happening. Can't do it. So people want to judge how I'm keeping the Sabbath because I wear jeans sometimes. That's an example. Nobody does. You got to wear a dress. Show me where it said in the Bible. So when he was talking about don't put on clothes of a woman and man, that's talking about sexual relations. Back there, they all wore them things that look like skirts. So he wasn't talking about jeans. Jeans did not exist. I'm going to have a day where I just go through all of this stuff that the devil has put in the church. And like, no, that's not what the Bible said. Let's rightly divide it. Please. Because that's not what it said. The pants did not exist until years and years later. And somebody told me that it was made in China so that they can work better in the fields. I don't know. I didn't look that up. But back then, they all wore dresses, dressed looking like stuff. So it wasn't talking about clothes. Book chapter first. Hopefully you're talking about this one is Colossians chapter 2, verse 16. That's the one where don't let anyone judge you. We got to rightfully divide the word, people. I'm going to wait a second. Is that the one that you was talking about, Mo? What are apologetics? I need to know what that is. I think I'm done. My spirit ain't leaping up out of me right now because I'm, as my sister is saying, passionate about apologetics. I'm very passionate about this as well. Please tell me what apologetics are. I haven't heard that term before. So if I'm waiting on a couple responses to comments. We're talking about the Sabbath here, people. We're talking about rightly dividing what it is and what it isn't. We're talking about rightly dividing. Let's see that what I say to people who use the word exactly. Got it. So my sister, she's telling me this. She's telling people, book, chapter, verse, please. When people are trying to use the Bible to beat her over the head with it. Oh, it's what I'm doing right now. It's basically giving the correct understanding of the word apologetics. Well, I take it. I receive. That's what that is. I receive it because I had to drag myself out of bed this morning. All this energy that I have right now, I did not have it. But I know the passion, what they call what Yeshua Jesus had to do for us. That was his passion. This is my passion. Us getting the truth. The truth. Drinking, pop, beverages, and things. That's not what sin is. Sin is defined by not doing what God commanded. And so when you go to that, you think of, he keeps telling me to stop eating sweets. That ain't in the Bible. I have a spiritual relationship with the Most High. He said, look, you need to slow down on that sugar, sweetheart. Not about to tell y'all what my dentist bill is. So the more that I do it, I in myself am sinning. Being very transparent right now. I'm sinning. Am I about to put that on you? Y'all can't eat sweets because I can't eat sweets. It's a sin to eat sweets. No, it's a sin for me to eat sweets because of what it's doing to my body. I need to do this right here. I need to take this label off because I'm not supporting nobody. Nobody getting money off of me. This is what your girl need to do. The words that proceed out of the mouth of the Most High are what we're supposed to obey. When we don't do what he says, let me see if I still have it up. I have a few of them up here. We don't do what he says, that is sin. Period. Yes, we have the biblical instructions, commandments, laws, statutes. And those, what are they? What did Jesus define them as? You can hang all the law and the prophets on these. Love the Most High with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. So those are relationship. Now, when we start talking about myself, that's when you get into the other 316. That definitely helps. Helps me to treat myself better. One of my dad's favorites is the law of Nidok. I'm talking to mostly ladies right now. Do not go and have intercourse while you're on your cycle. That's what the law of Nidok is. Your body is supposed to rest. They have invented a way to have sex while you're on your cycle. These doggone cups. That's an abomination. Period. Because your body's supposed to rest. The law of Nidok will be found in the 316 laws that's elaborated in Leviticus. I'm going to be reading Leviticus, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus in a couple weeks. So bear with me. Yes, they are for our own good. And a lot of them are regional, or not regional, but of the times. So I'm not a farmer. But if I did have a farm, every 7 years, I'm not farming. Because it said, let my ground rest. Part of the reason the food that we eat is horrible. They don't let the ground rest. I don't know when the last time they let it rest. So we got to do or buy this extra organic food and all of this stuff because they're not following the law of letting the land rest. I can go on for days. I love the word. I love the word. I love the word. It gives me so much energy, so much light, so much. Everything it's promised it would do, it does it. It does it. I normally just give y'all just a little snippet during the week just to, like the taste testers at Sam's Club and stuff. But, I just wanted to kind of get into this a little deeper today. I'm getting ready to go get dressed, get ready for my Sabbath service. If you want to join me, inbox me, text me. I do go live. Our pastor loves to get the word out as well. Our pastor team, everybody, we love people. So feel free to join us. And I pray this prayer from the bottom of my heart because I love you. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. May Yahweh make his face shine upon you and show you his favor. May Yahweh lift his countenance upon you and give you shalom, which is peace. Nothing missing, nothing broken. Love you, love you, love you. Peace, Facebook. Peace, YouTube.